Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei recently predicted that up to 50. This gap is the result of the heavy concentration of female workers in administrative and clerical fields. From an operational standpoint, algorithms are a logical choice for high-volume tasks. They operate 24 hours a day, require no breaks, and create no interpersonal friction within a department. Efficiency data supports the shift. Companies have documented a 40% speed increase in drafting and communication tasks by delegating them to large language models. When executives prioritize immediate output, AI becomes the mathematically logical choice for the modern workforce. However, the first wave of adopters is encountering physical limits. IBM has struggled to meet its goal of replacing 8,000 roles with AI, and aggressive adopters like Klarna are now acknowledging the technical hurdles of full-scale automation. This pie chart illustrates a recent MIT report. 95% of generative AI pilots fail to produce measurable revenue improvement. While companies spend heavily on infrastructure, revenue is flatlining. The rising cost of these systems outpaces the value they generate. Mass layoffs create immediate savings on a balance sheet, but they are currently masking a systemic failure to create actual enterprise value through technology. This value gap is creating a phenomenon the Harvard Business Review describes as work slop. Work slop is the high volume of AI-generated content that appears professional on the surface, but lacks the accuracy or strategic insight required for complex business decisions. This output forces human employees to spend more time auditing and correcting AI errors than they would have spent doing the work manually, which eventually erodes team productivity. These failures extend to the hiring process itself. Automated screeners have been documented using biased programming to filter out candidates based on gender, race, or non-native speech patterns. By delegating judgment to algorithms, companies are sacrificing the very efficiency and objectivity that automation was intended to provide. Current projections suggest that by 2026, automation will displace 75 million jobs globally. Simultaneously, the economy is projected to create 133 million new roles. Positions like AI systems auditors require technical oversight that doesn't yet exist in the general labor pool. MIT researchers argue that long-term economic survival now depends on the ability to integrate human decision-making with machine speed, rather than attempting to compete with the hardware directly. The current job market volatility is the result of a workforce that hasn't yet retrained for these specialized, high-level oversight roles. Staying competitive requires a move away from repetitive, predictable tasks. If a job can be summarized by a set of rules, an algorithm will eventually perform it. Career security is now found in the human premium, the specific areas where algorithms consistently fail. This includes high-level strategic planning, complex B2B relationship management, and deep situational empathy. The most profitable firms of the next decade will be those that successfully combine AI's raw processing power with human emotional intelligence and strategic direction. While the future economy will be driven by artificial intelligence, the highest valued assets in that market will be the strategic traits that algorithms cannot replicate. AI developers are making some grim forecasts about the labor market. The CEO of Anthropic recently warned that up to half of all entry-level white-collar jobs could be wiped out by artificial intelligence over the next few years. If we lose 50% of those jobs, global unemployment would spike to 20%. To put that in perspective, we haven't seen joblessness at that scale since the Great Depression. This threat feels entirely plausible when you look at the hardware companies supplying the compute power. NVIDIA's market capitalization soared past $3 trillion as tech giants hoarded their GPUs. Wall Street is pouring wealth into these firms, expecting a total overhaul of the labor market, a future where human workers are replaced by machines. We actually have enough data now to measure the initial fallout. Globally, 14% of workers have already been affected by AI automation, resulting in roughly 4 to 5 million definitive job losses. The damage is highly concentrated. Companies have cut 1.2 million roles in customer service and call centers using chatbots, and another 850,000 in IT and tech support by automating basic software testing and troubleshooting. This targeted automation reveals a sharp demographic divide. A United Nations study found that 41% of women's jobs are heavily exposed to AI replacement, compared to only 28% for men. This gap exists because historically, female-dominated fields like administrative support, clerical work, and data entry are highly structured and repeatable. They are the easiest tasks for an algorithm to mimic. We are not waiting for a sci-fi dystopia to arrive. The algorithms are already handing out pink slips to the working class today. Still, when you look closely at how businesses actually deploy these tools, the reality is much messier than a clean corporate takeover. AI works exceptionally well as an assistant, running thousands of A/B marketing tests simultaneously or generating personalized website content. But relying on it to fully replace human employees is backfiring. The financial firm Klarna aggressively pushed to swap its workforce for AI, only to realize the software hallucinates and breaks down when handling complex, non-routine tasks. IBM made headlines by predicting me would replace 8,000 jobs with artificial intelligence. So far, they have managed to automate only a few hundred. Deployment is also bottlenecked by major legal liabilities. OpenAI faced massive public backlash when Scarlett Johansson accused them of cloning her voice for their ChatGPT assistant, sparking severe scrutiny over deepfake impersonation. The algorithms are brilliant at generating text and images, but they lack the reliability, legal clearance, and operational logic required to actually run a company on their own. Then there is the physical toll. Training large language models requires staggering amounts of electricity, stressing regional power grids and driving up greenhouse gas emissions. To keep these data centers running, tech giants are spending billions to resurrect decommissioned nuclear power plants. Microsoft recently signed a deal to purchase power from a reactor at 3 Mile Island, the site of the worst U.S. commercial nuclear accident. This bar chart maps those financial realities. It visualizes the $60 billion poured into corporate AI investments in 2025, contrasted against the tiny sliver of projects that actually made money. According to MIT researchers, 95% of business AI projects are currently unprofitable. We have massive infrastructural debt on one side and a product with low practical enterprise utility on the other. That is the exact mathematical definition of an economic bubble. The tech industry is spending billions to build supercomputers for a broader economy that cannot currently afford to use them profitably. The panic over a flawless, immediate machine takeover is misplaced. Our actual problem is a highly volatile, disorganized transition period that will disrupt millions of lives. This animated scale illustrates the World Economic Forum's projection. On one side, we see an estimated 75 million jobs disappearing due to automation. On the other, the exact same technology is projected to create 133 million entirely new roles. The danger lies in the massive gap between these two groups. The people losing customer service or administrative jobs do not automatically possess the highly specialized skills required for the newly created engineering or data roles. History shows us exactly how this transition plays out. The wealthy, educated, and well-connected adapt and capture the new wealth, while the working class absorbs the economic damage. Easing this transition requires rapid government action. We have to regulate how these models scrape and deploy data, heavily fund worker retraining programs, and rethink how we compensate human labor when routine tasks are automated. If we fail to prepare, the greatest threat won't be a rogue superintelligence. It will be the tech bubble bursting, leaving a fractured economy, millions of displaced workers, and absolutely no safety net to catch them.